Go on. Everybody stand and lift your hands, please. Gracious Heavenly Father, Lord God, we come to you today thanking you for another glorious day, dear God. You've given us so many of them here lately. We thank you so much for your love, your grace, and your tender mercies, Heavenly Father. We thank you most of all for your Son who gave his life for our sins. We thank you, dear Lord, and pray that you be with us now as we go to our meeting. Guide us and lead us. These things I pray in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sometimes it's just right.
Okay, we will have roll call. Commissioner Fleetwood. Present. Commissioner Key.
Here.
Commissioner Montgomery.
Here.
Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Excellent. Want to welcome everyone here this evening, and we'll begin with our approval of the minutes from our last meeting.
I read them when Michael sent them. Everything looked good to me, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Approval of claims, and I'll read those claims off to everyone. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. CAW 1, $5,563.46. County General, $1,887,878.86. Courts, $1,208.83. Highway, $37,075.58. Sheriff, $4,596.67. ACH, $138,343.38. CAW 2, $96,520.77. Savings refunds on direct deposits, $850.42. Pauper claims, $1,639.86. Payroll reissue, $5,116.92. Pauper claims, $1,075. Additional payroll deductions, $22.50. Payroll deductions, $154,181.67. Payroll, $350,645.40. Third quarter tax additional payment, $22.08. LIT distribution, $547,739.50. Ditch claim, $2,010. And fines, forfeitures, remittance to state, $4,205. I'll entertain a motion to approve those claims.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion made and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'll pass these down for everyone to sign. Thank you.
Just acknowledge one of these two reports.
And we have acknowledged the two reports here from the county treasurer
And the clerk.
and the clerk. Moving on to Commissioner's old business. I'll let someone else bring this up. I didn't realize this was going to be on here.
The Fairview Heights subdivision and approval of their first plat.
Glenn Merritt with Cash Wagner. I'm here to request approval of the primary plat for Fairview Heights. As a result of the last meeting, I think it was requested that some notes be added to the plat regarding the roadway, construction within the subdivision, internal road. Those notes were added to the plat. To reflect the roadway not built to county standards, that they will. Everybody knows subdivisions, 41 lots, single family residential, 86.9 acres roughly. I'll be happy to answer any questions anybody has regarding subdivision.
I was reading over this document and it appears that you're still calling out private roads for the two cul-de-sac roads. I believe they amount to 3,600 feet. Is that correct?
In that, in that general. Close to that length. I don't know the exact length off the top of my head. I believe we're going to be constructing per county standards. There's been a little discussion back and forth, but I think kind of after that last meeting, I think they want to make them all public once they are constructed, but that's going to be a ways down the road before we ever get to those internal lots. I mean, the plan is to build around the south and the east perimeter on the existing roadways where the infrastructure is already there, and see how everything goes, with the home sales. And then once the other lots get sold, the infrastructure is already in, and expand and maybe start cutting in those internal routes and extend water line and things throughout the development to service those future lots. But that will be down a little way.
Well, I had less than 24 hours to review this, but I took it upon myself to work late on it last night. So I do have some concerns about us not having a lot of time to review it. I was given my copy on Monday. Long story short, though, I mean, I actually support this subdivision. I'm actually ready to vote on it. My biggest concern is for the HOA or lack thereof. Have you created an HOA for this subdivision yet?
No, and the HOA usually doesn't get created until, when you actually have homes going into subdivision. I know that discussion has happened before. I mean, the covenants and restrictions will come right behind when the subdivision plat gets recorded. I mean, technically, that's how that process works. I mean, this is just the primary. Once they decide what section they want to record, then we'll come back to Gibson County and submit a secondary plat for whatever lots we're wanting to record, which again, I think it's going to be 8 to 10 lots, roughly 10 lots, said that are on the south and eastern perimeter of the subdivision. That's what we would come back in here with to record. But after that plat gets recorded, then that HOA would potentially be set up and the covenants restrictions would be recorded to determine, you know, what guidelines for the houses have to be built to what standards and that type of thing.
I know most everybody knows how I feel about subdivisions, which we need them. But I worked for the county for 36 years, and the ones we've took in, it's fun to try and plow snow on them roads or do anything to them. So I'm never going to be in the favor of taking over subdivision roads. I've had to work with them before, and I'm not.
Vehicles parked on them?
Huh?
The problem, vehicles parked on the roads, or?
Well, not just that, it's everything. I mean, trying to get into some places with a snow plow to push the snow, and
Yeah.
that's going to be up to homeowners out there, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and on the road subject, at this moment in time, they're private, they're on private property. They enter the highway just like a driveway would enter the highway. Your restrictions on how that's done is according to how the highway right of way, et cetera, et cetera. If they're built sub part of our ordinance, then, you know, to put it simply, that's on you.
Sure.
But if they're built to standards in that, and the widths are right, et cetera, there's no point saying, because in all honesty, by the time that gets built up in that, and you're requesting that, I might not even be around. Because this isn't gonna go up overnight.
No.
You know, Rome wasn't built in a day. But you know, as far as that goes, like I said, the roads are up to you guys. If you build them to standard, to the county standard, then that would be in the future call. But as far as this plat goes, everything's in place as far as I'm concerned. And so I will make a motion that we accept this plat at this time.
At the primary plat. I'll
Yes,
second that motion.
I'd like for the records to reflect that we have provided the engineer and the developer with a copy of our ordinance 2011-5, which pertains to Gibson County specs. And you probably already have a copy, but the records to reflect that.
John, do you want to chime in on some of this? I mean, you're over the subdivision.
I'm a member of the subdivision committee, yes. I would say, you know, as he said, the primary plat is your approval of the general layout. Typically, you know, if a final plat comes in that deals with any of these improvements, then we would make sure that that final plat has whatever notation necessary to make sure that it's clear to everyone the intention with respect to things like the roads. So if phase one were to come in and only be the exterior lots, you know, it doesn't rise to that point at that point in time, typically. You know, if a phase two were to come in, regardless of how those roads are built, if they're gravel, if they're to county specs, if they're above county specs, if the developer is intending they want them to be private, we would ask to definitely see any notations about how they're going to be maintained, put on that plat so that folks purchasing those lots are aware of what's going on.
It's on the final plat.
If they come in at that time and are wanting it to be taken over by the county, then before, we would suggest, I guess, as the subdivision committee, before any final plat is approved and it gets recorded, if that's the determination you make, then that's the note that goes on it. If it's not going to be taken over by the county, then we clearly state that on that final plat, because that's the one getting recorded. We want that there.
John, do you feel comfortable that the responsibility is now on the developer to build those roads to county specs as per the language of this plat?
I think, I mean,
Should we approve it tonight? Will they be liable? Will they be held accountable? Will they be responsible by law to build them to county specs as is notated on this drawing, or is this not binding?
I would defer to the county attorney on that. I'm not a lawyer, but I mean, if they were to come back with a final plat that said, we've changed our mind and want to do a gravel private road, we would recommend to you guys that we make sure that that is notated there, that that's what they're doing, and that they have either the completion affidavit that says they've built it already, and we have the county engineer go out and inspect it to make sure that it is built per what the plat is going to say. Or if they're coming in and it's not done yet, they go through that process of bonding it so that if they were to not finish it, you know, we would lean on the engineer at that point in time as to whether or not they can what sort of parameters they have to legally make changes. You know, I'm not an attorney on that.
Sure, nor am I, so.
And I can tell you in past plats we've seen that have come in, we have urged the notations to be on there to clearly indicate the intention at the time of platting so that down the road, we don't have the sort of issues we had long before this ordinance where we had plats that just had roads and there was no notes and the commission was in a bad spot when the decisions wanted them taken over. And so that's why we've leaned towards, you know, having those notations, you know, plastered all over that final plat so that that is recorded and forever it's known what the intention was at the time. Because quite honestly, they build them to specs but we're still at the point where, you know, we don't want them. So they're building it to specs because they want a good road, but it's going to be privately maintained and it's on the plat. 20 years from now, they could come in and say, we want these built, or we want these accepted by the county. That commission is going to look and they're not going to care that it was built to specs at the time. They're going to want the engineer in 20 years to go out and say, do these meet our specs today? You know,
Agree.
but I don't know if I answered what you wanted, Ken, or not, but
Appreciate it, John.
Well, and I know we had concerns whether the Francisco Fire Department
Mhm.
could cover this and willing to. We got a letter today from the fire chief stating that, yes, they could and they would be happy to be able to provide this
Mhm.
to that community.
I took it upon myself to go run out today because I was told about some brush that the power halter was cutting brush there and just leaving it in the ditch. So while I was there, I put it in four-wheel drive and went up, drove on the property. Got a long way to go. Long way to go.
As I've said before, I'm in favor of this project. My only concern is not seeing that HOA in advance. I just feel like we got to take care of the future taxpayers that are coming in out there. But I'm very favorable for this project. I think it's going to be a pretty good project, nice subdivision. It's just, I can't in good conscience take those roads on and then later on down the road, we don't know if there's going to be funding for those people that live there. So.
I get that. And then, I mean, we do a lot of development in Vandenberg and Warwick, and I mean, that HOA, I mean, typically the subdivisions have an HOA, and I mean, it doesn't get set up after that secondary plat.
Well, unless you sell lots, you can't have HOA. I mean, you got to sell the lots. So,
It's just kind of the first step to get moving in that
Right.
direction.
it's just a primary plat. So the motion's been made and seconded. Want to vote on it then? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those against?
I hate to stand against it because again, I was wanting to approve it at the next meeting after I had a copy of that HOA or could see some more of the road maintenance agreement, but anyhow, it's already moved on here, so I'll be the one nay, I suppose, for that reason, but I want to go on record as saying I support the project, think it's a great project. I just want a little more information
That's 2-1, so it does pass.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Next up, we've got the first reading of the stormwater management ordinance. I'll ask County Surveyor Scott Martin to come forward and maybe discuss this in a little depth for us. Or John, feel free if you'd like to come forward too.
Yeah, I guess in a way I'm here representing the drainage board. We have, we've been working on a stormwater ordinance. I went back, this has kind of been on the agenda. I think I went back to the agenda today and I found back to 2007, stormwater ordinance has been on the drainage board. And I think we put one together over probably, started probably in the office and worked on it for several months in a row. And we've got a proposed ordinance out there on the and if anybody wants to view it, it's out there on our website. But what we put together is a stormwater management ordinance and a stormwater specifications, and then document for. But really what this does is exactly what it says. It sets up specifications for stormwater management in the county. So we kind of wrote it consistent with what we've been talking about with Rule 5. Rule 5 is actually sediment control during construction of the project that disturbs 1 acre of land or more. So we kind of wrote, use that same language for our ordinance and work with kind of soil and water to develop that language. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that you will be subject to this ordinance and these specifications if you're subject to Rule 5. We could possibly, if you're submitting to Rule 5, you could be subject to this ordinance and specifications. I think after talking to soil and water, we put together some people that have interest in, we call it stakeholder meetings, but we put together some people that have interest in drainage and knowledge in drainage as we were working on this, and thought that would be a good checkpoint. If you're submitting for Rule 5, you would then check with you're submitting out soil and water. I think soil and water work with IGM for Rule 5. Again, Rule 5 is sediment control during construction. To my knowledge, currently Indiana has no post specifications for post construction. So also we would be looking at quantity and quality. So this ordinance focuses on quantity versus quality of water. So we would solely be focused in this county on post-construction quantity of water, developments of 1 acre or more. So, yeah, like I said, I think I look back, that's 14 years. This has been on the drainage board agenda. And, I think one note that I want to make here is for 36.9, 28.5-3. Then per the law, I won't try to recite the law, I'm not a lawyer, but did mention this to Jason today. The law requires, I think, can you help me out?
Regulations of stormwater,
Right.
essentially, is the chapter you're referencing does mandate that upon units of government, local units of governments like counties.
So, yeah, 14 years on the agenda there and just, you know.
Why do you suppose it was on there for 14 years? I mean, what were the problems you ran into before with previous commissioners?
Well, this is, you know, I just started working on it. This is only early in my second term of office, so this is really the first time but I'm representing the drainage board on the ex officio, so I don't know what previous drainage board problems, I don't know what problems they ran into. I think, you know, one of the things that you're gonna have to address, and we put a fee schedule ordinance out there, I think it's something that you would have to figure out. And how we laid it out here is that you would have a fee schedule. You have a fee when you submit it for your permit, and that fee would be used to have these projects reviewed. So, by an outside firm.
Mm-hmm. I was reading up on some of that law too. The law stated the policy may, but is not required to provide for the actual management of stormwater runoff from developed real property. So the law, I mean, the law is kind of saying it's, well, the exact wording, the policy may, but is not required to provide for the actual management of stormwater. But right now, what we have in place is a Rule 5, correct? I mean, that's what everybody has to submit to.
Yeah, that's what I was, we
Go to IDEM.
talked about that quite a bit. Rule 5 has to do with sediment control, whereas our proposed ordinance, that you already passed it, has to do with quantity. And also Rule 5, once construction is over, I believe Rule 5, you know, Rule 5 is through, I think through soil and water and IDEM for erosion.
Primarily erosion, yeah.
Erosion control during construction projects. So when you drive by a construction project and see, you know, your hay bales out and your silt fences, that's likely, you know, the Rule 5 limits. So, no, there's nothing, there's currently nothing to my knowledge that deals with post-construction quantity of water.
And, you know, looking at this, and I've given it a lot of time and thought, most of the folks that come to us with their plans, their engineer approved, or, you know, state engineers already approved them, like we had this evening with Cash Wagler. So I like that part about what we're doing right now. My biggest concern is just being fiscally responsible. It really is. And making sure we don't charge or burden our taxpayers. And I know it spells out, if you disturb an acre or more, you have to go through this process. And I'm hoping that we can look at that carefully, because I'm not exactly opposed to the ordinance. It's just, I really want to make sure we don't put a burden on developers that we're trying to entice in our county. We're trying to bring housing in. And I also don't want to burden individual landowners. Like, you know, I don't want it to be a situation like a gentleman I know in Vanderbilt County who wanted to build a horse barn and had good intentions. He got all of his permits, all of his approval. And then, you know, long and behold, he was out all these additional fees for the stormwater. So it's one thing to require them to have a plan, I guess is my point. I'm good with that. I think stormwater should be controlled to some extent, and we should look out for our sediment and our stormwater. But I contend that these folks are already doing that. They already have a plan in place. I guess where I'm going with this is I'm comfortable making a motion to approve this without the fees and without an outside source approving it. I mean, I'm good with, for instance, us doing this like we do our subdivision review committee. And then we could also save developers and individual landowners a tremendous amount of money. Because if they have to have this review done, the way this is set up and the way it explains, it goes to an outside source, an outside engineer. And I don't remember the exact amounts, but I want to say some of them exceed or up to $3,000 to have have your parcel or have your land reviewed by an outside source. So I'll try to back it up and explain it in detail. What happens is if you were going to disturb an acre or more, you would be required to bring your plan that's already been created by a professional engineer to our county, submit it to Scott's office. They would send it up to Indianapolis or a firm somewhere off outside of our county. They would have to approve it, but most likely they would probably come back and say, well, you need riprap here, or you need to add a little more rock here. They give suggestions, which that also ups the price of development too, if they make any suggestions. We have to remember that the $3,000 fee that they're paying the county, that again, that's proposed, is just the beginning of what it's going to cost a developer or cost somebody who wants to build a horse barn on their property and it's going to disturb an acre more ground. We might say, well, it's just $3,000, but then when you get into the meat of it, you pay that $3,000 to Scott's office, the county surveyor's office, or $2,000 or one.
To the drainage board.
Okay, drainage board. And then from there, they may come back. These engineers up in Indianapolis may say, whoa, slow down. We want you to do this, put in more riprap on your banks. We want you to put the piping in here. I mean, I'm sure they're like most engineering companies, they're going to have suggestions for folks. And I guess my point is, if the way we're doing it now, where we have someone, where these people are coming to us and they're sending it to the IDM and they're having it approved, and they're having them drawing. Remember this, the drawings are being created by licensed engineers in the state of Indiana. I believe in every case. I just don't feel like we should tax or burden the taxpayers or developers anymore. But my motion is that and I believe Mary and Ken feel this is needed, so I can understand that. But my motion is that we go forward, but we do it all in-house. It might require an additional meeting where Scott and his group drafts it so that there are no fees and it could be approved here in Gibson County for Gibson County taxpayers. So that's my only motion I'm putting out there.
Comment to that.
We get our ordinance, but we also don't have the fees.
The, one thing, I'm not a licensed engineer, I wouldn't be able to perform those reviews.
I don't think you'd have to be.
And what this is, you could look at it similar to the county road specifications when, and that's what this would be doing. It would be setting up specifications. So you're setting up those specifications that the developer has to meet. And, and like you said, most developers are, these are, if this would apply to you, likely you have an engineer involved anyway. Another thing I want to point out, I'll use the solar project. One of the solar projects had submitted a drainage plan to me with, I believe, there were 200 or more pages of calculations. And, you kind of got some deadlines you're looking at here for these developers, where there's a turnaround deadline. So just like similar on a larger scale, you're setting up standards. If you could look at it as a negative, you could also look at it as a positive. You could look at it, the developer could look at it as a selling point. This has been built to these specifications. It's been built to this county specification, and that could be enticing. It's about responsible development, and promoting orderly development. I think that's kind of why it's needed.
Well, you were talking about, physical responsibility, and that I feel like it's our physical responsibility to make sure that we don't have water displacement where we have had in places in the county. When you put down so much hard surface, you got that much more water flowing. And when you have it flowing, it does that much more damage. And you have to have try to put some kind of controls in to prevent this. It can tear up our bridges, it can tear up our roads, it can tear up our ditches. And, you know, there's a lot of expense there that heavy runoff can cause. And we've had some doozy rains and we've had some doozy runoffs, you know, here in the near past. But, so I mean, you know, to me, that's one reason we need to get this ordinance in there. Another, as far as the fees go, now, not that I'm one of these, well, you know, Warwick County or Knox County or whatever has, most of them have them in there. These major developers are used to this. It kind of blows their minds when they come to Gibson County and we don't have them. And there's a lot of technical stuff in this ordinance pertaining to what, you know, what it takes to retain this amount of water that comes off of this amount of surface, et cetera, et cetera. Now, somebody's not going to go out there and build an acre barn. An acre barn is a humongous barn. And there are a lot of exceptions in the ordinance for agriculture because that's one of the major industries of Gibson County. And if Scott's not an engineer, Matt's a highway engineer, we couldn't put something like this on Matt to
No, this would.
look at and study that, you know,
It's just like.
this, well, but they're not engineers.
Well, you don't have to be an engineer.
And
for
well,
this.
but there's a
You
lot
really
of
don't.
calculation there that you have to
Well, the
know
engineers.
what it is.
The engineers will do all the legwork. As a matter of fact, any engineer worth his or her salt will have everything mapped out and all figured. What they're gonna be doing is submitting their plan to us, and then we have to give it approval. I mean, I'm confident Scott's office could do that, no problem at all.
They don't have the qualifications.
Like the example I gave you with the solar project that's submitted to my office recently.
And I want to point one other thing out too, and that is, Mary had mentioned an acre barn. I do think that's extreme. But what we're talking about here is they could build a 30 by 40 barn, but if they disturb an acre or more of ground, then they are subject to having to have this review done by an out of the county company. I just want to clarify that. Sorry for the interruption.
That's extreme to me too, but like I said, there are exceptions within this and review of it before we would require a submission. But just like some of these major, you know, subdivisions coming in, they're gonna create a lot of hard surface. And it's gonna be dumping into the county facilities, be it a road ditch or whatever.
That's a pretty good point.
And,
I'll let her finish.
well, and, you know, I'm sorry they, you know, they expect, and yes, the fees are there, but just like I was saying in this one subdivision, there's 41, 42. I did the math the other day, and if you take the fee and divide it, if the developer wants to divide it among every parcel, it comes down to like $50, $60. Now, maybe they'll pass it on, maybe they won't. That would be up to the
The
developer.
developer pass it on.
You know, and they may not. But this also involves the roads that the developer is putting in. And this type of thing. And I just think you know, we have to have the fees because that's a lot of money that if we have to have somebody else review it, just to make sure that it's to these specifications. You can have a lot of things written out, but if you're not knowledgeable of what they're stating, you really can't review it. And you have to have that basic knowledge.
And
So,
to Mary's point, when I asked Cash Wagler, the engineer for the subdivision that we just learned about tonight and had discussion over, I asked him, I said, now, would you have done these specs? You know, because right now we don't have a stormwater ordinance in place. I said, would you have done these specs the same way? And the gentleman led me to believe that they would have. I mean, they were responsible. They had them done up by a professional engineer. So, I mean, there is that side of it too. But again, my motion is, and I'll just I'll ask for a second this time that we do approve it. We do identify that we need stormwater control, but at this time, I mean, it could be looked at later, but at this time, we don't attach any fees to it. Nor do we outsource it.
And just for the record, what you do tonight, what we previously discussed was this is going to be forwarded to the next meeting. If you're approving tonight an ordinance that does not have any fees associated with it, we will not need to have a public hearing. On the other hand, if you approve it as Scott proposes with fees included, we'll have that public hearing that I've got prepared to go out to the media tomorrow. So
But
no
if you
finalization.
wanted to attach fees later on, then you'd have to go through the whole thing again.
Yeah.
Not approving the storm ordinance, but
Imposition
approving
of
the
the fees.
fees.
Well, I know that if we don't approve at least some kind of fees, it's, the money's got to come from somebody to fix these ditches, and that's going to be more county. And the county don't have the extra money to do it either.
Well, and these fees are just to pay the engineer up north. They're not gonna go to help any ditches. I just want to point that out. They won't, they can't be used for a new tractor or anything.
I think your solar ordinance has some fees in it. It would be very similar to.
I agree with you on that.
Actually, I had to brush up on that ordinance recently.
If the fees could be used to actually go out and actually physically dig ditches and improve drainage, Kenny, I'd be attaboy, let's do it right now. Let's do it 10 years ago, but that's not the case.
Well, the fees, it's not like the county is gaining money on fees.
Right.
As far as the burden of somebody developing a piece of land, we want to make sure, you know, that we put some standards in place there, and the fees are just a process for someone to review that, get it back to us in a timely manner, and ensure to us that,
Just an example.
Drainage plans, yeah, protecting the neighbors. It's, like I said earlier, you know, in a way, it's no different than the specifications that we have for a road, you know. That may cost the developer a little more, but it could be, you know, it could be for the developer. If that comes out, let's say your example came out to, whatever, we'll say $100 a lot, you know, that they've also, you know, there's a peace of mind there to say, yeah, you know, I have the specs in place and just went through that process. So,
Well, and if we have somebody confirming these, that everything is correct in that,
yeah.
then this should hopefully, maybe not to the 100 year, but it should hopefully take care of any of these problems occurring. I mean, they're going to occur. We know that. It's Mother Nature. But this hopefully is to ensure that those costs are minimal, shall we put it? And
You're right.
so,
My
you know,
opinion really is that, in the long run, having something like this in place, I think it would save the county money in the long run. If you're talking about that way down the road, I'm suggesting.
And I respectfully differ or disagree. My opinion is it's going to be an extra burden on taxpayers. And I'll use this as one last example, and then I'll let the horse rest. But you know, let's say Jerry, I'm just fictional name, Jerry comes in, he buys let's say he buys 2 acres of wooded property over in East Gibson. Good guy, we all like him, we go to church with him, whatever. If he comes in there and disturbs an acre of it, clear him out a nice place for his family to grow and live and prosper, then he's going to be subject to this. And you might say, well, Jerry, he's building a new house, he can handle it. But what if Jerry's having to go to the bank and finance it all? He's going to put a mobile home out there and he's just barely scrapping to get by in life. Those are the kind of people that'll be affected by this. Jerry's going to, they won't say, Jerry, you're a nice guy, you don't have to pay it. They'll say, Jerry, ante up, pal. If you want that house and you want to clear that property, you got to pay.
The drain board
So
referring today. And also, I don't think that's the intent.
it's not the intent, but it is going to cause excess taxes. And I'm not for that. But again, I'm going to let the horse rest, and I made my motion. If I can get some help on it, great. If not, God knows I tried. And you're welcome, either one of you commissioners, to either second it or come up with your own motion. I guess,
Well, I don't want to see anybody have to pay extra to.
Well, the thing is that for a basic, it's not that much. When you're talking about, you know, the
Yeah,
highly engineered in that, because like I said, there are exceptions to the rule and possibility of, you know, waivers or whatever. But I'll make a motion to pass both the stormwater management ordinance and the fee ordinance.
Now, we have two motions out there right now.
it'll come down to Kenny to. Sorry, Kenny.
Well,
Dave,
Any chance I can make a comment on that? Just real quick, something that's just crossing my mind here. I see the fees and I see where, in my opinion, like with developers, they can pass the buck down to somebody else. They can pass, oh, it's $3,000, $8,000, I'm just running a figure here. So the developer can go and they can get their money because they're putting the fees on. If there's a way we can do it with an original homeowner, the original homeowner can't pass the buck down. That's the only thing I would like for y'all to think about in my mind. That's all I'm thinking about is the original person. I don't know what the ordinance reads, like if it reads an acre of land, I decide to put a garage, I've got to pay extra to have, if it reads that.
No,
acre or more.
Acre or more.
if you disturb
right.
an acre or more, you're not going to disturb an acre putting in a garage. You're not going to disturb an acre actually putting in a normal barn or machine shed.
Okay, that's all I was.
Yeah.
If it's coming down to where the homeowner that owns their home they can't pass the buck down on fees. Now,
Right.
the developer, I can care less.
If you till it with your tractor and replant all your grass, and let's say maybe you even do some elevation things and it amounts to a total acre, you'll be subject to it.
I was just stating my.
just don't tell nobody.
Yeah, right.
No, that, I'm sure that's accepted that's not, okay, yes, you're disturbing it, but that's like saying a farmer can't go out and plow his field because he's disturbing more than an acre. That does not pertain to this ordinance.
It was just something to think, that's all.
No, I understand where you're coming from.
An individual homeowner like that, I would say that needs to be thought of.
Right.
As far as the developer, they can pass the buck down. If you give them a fee.
That's right.
they'll pass it.
Well, let's put it this way. If you're going to build an acre house, garage and whatever, and cover up that whole acre with that building,
Yeah,
you probably will sneeze at a fee to have it like that.
yes, I get that.
And the reality is the developer can't afford a $500 an hour attorney. Whereas a citizen like yourself and myself, maybe not so much. So that's something else I think we have to take into consideration too. We're saying this is going to happen this way, it's going to happen this way. At the end of the day, when it comes time to contest something like that, or to throw that fee on you, you know, who's going to be able to afford the attorney?
I think what you,
Most people would just be like, give up. They either wouldn't build or they would give up and give into it and face the taxation.
this isn't taxation, similar to, like I said, similar to the fees that were put into the solar ordinance. But a lot less. And, you know, you have to ask yourself if you're submitting for Rule 5, you might be subject to county ordinance. The county stormwater management ordinance. And that is a good point to bring that. That was a big misconception when we first started talking about this is, you know, if I divide an acre or a parcel, 1 acre parcel, am I subject to it? And like Aaron said, it's the disturbance of 1 acre or more. And that language is somewhat.
Yeah, that's all I was bringing up. You know, a big developer, she's Toyota commission put all that concrete out there. There had to be a plan somewhere, or water was just gonna flood out the Fort Ridge out front. Because, you know, you have to have a plan with big
Right.
development like that. I totally understand.
And keep in mind, there are going to be cases where landowners, individual landowners are going to be impacted by this. There's no way they couldn't be. The people will disturb an acre of ground, especially on wooded property.
I have,
It is what it is. I mean, you can't deny that.
that's right.
And those people are gonna be taxed.
I would again refer to, you know, if you're putting in for Rule 5, likely, very likely, if you're subject to this ordinance, you are subject to Rule 5, you've got an engineering firm involved anyway. I did go out and look into the Rule 5s that were submitted over 1 year in our county. And so I went out to soil and water, those are managed through soil and water and IDM. And I believe there's no individuals on here, several consulting firms, maybe an architectural, one of them was an architectural firm. And we had 11, I think out of those 11, I don't think all of them would have been subject to this ordinance. So, you know, and another thing too that I want to note is I will get calls from time to time, people asking me how they can find our stormwater management ordinance. And I'll tell them we don't have any. We just ask them to be a responsible developer, which, you know, like you say, most people are, but sometimes, but, you know,
Sometimes they're not.
They expect it, you know, in my opinion, I think, a lot of your larger developers will kind of.
And,
bit of work.
and in all honesty, the big group pushing the stormwater ordinance and that, besides water and soil office and that, has been the agricultural community. Because a lot of times they're the ones that get affected by these big ones coming in, such as you said, when Toyota came in, that was a lot of surface. I mean, just to take it on a smaller level, when the high school out here was built, when Gibson Southern High School, you took open agricultural land and you put a lot of solid surface there. And okay, would they be whatever, you know, it would just depend on things, but we've got to start controlling that in this county because as we know, we're getting more and more of it. And yeah, well, I think it will, because I mean, we've been affected, our ground has been affected by somebody building something and not retaining the water that's coming off of it. And it goes, I know they've had troubles at different times in Fort Branch, and they were small, you know, wouldn't probably require a whole lot, but it changes the course of that water and causes individuals that have nothing to do with it money to try to reroute this stormwater and stuff.
Has any of y'all just investigated on what we were actually, this firm was gonna charge? Nobody has not either guessed.
Well,
3,000,
no,
one's
well,
guessed
no,
2,000.
the amount, I honestly believe I'd have to look at it again, that we came up with as a good firm number for an engineering firm to look at it, and that would be $2,500,
Okay.
2,000 to 2,500. Yes, yes. We have.
On the size of the development.
I was just.
Right.
curious if anybody looked at it, that's all.
Yeah, no, I mean, on a basic, you know, well, you kind of have to come up with an average, you know,
Right, I understand.
of that, of the size of something, and that's
And
what
it has to be somebody out of this county and can't come back to the county because nobody here is qualified. That there's no place to do it.
well,
Really, yes, to.
yeah, well, I mean, that would be up to the qualifications of the firm.
Right.
And as far as I know right now, I don't know if I don't know if we have an engineering firm that can. Now, are there individual engineers? Oh, I'm not gonna say there's not, because I certainly don't know all the engineers in the county. But no, it's a possibility that it could be somebody here in the county, and that would, well, I would too.
Stays to the county
Yeah,
of money going into it.
yeah, well, I agree with you there. I mean, if we can keep stuff like this in the county, we need to keep it in the county. If, it can be a pretty big word at times.
Does anybody have any more questions?
You can sit down.
No, thank you.
It's everybody. Well, I don't like charging people fees when they're already signed their life away building a house. You know, so
But
I'm not-
somebody that's building a house isn't gonna be paying that fee.
it won't
Unless
be,
you're, unless you're gonna be building a
Build
house.
barns, if they build barns, they might have to.
That's still slim to me.
well, I'm sorry, Mary, but I'm gonna have to go with Warren on the fees. I don't,
Okay,
So-
I mean, that's your choice, Kenny. That's your choice. I don't agree with it, but I agree.
And we got a second.
I
All,
think before,
all in favor, signify by saying aye.
I would prefer Scott be able to speak.
yes,
then,
I will, I want to make sure you guys are aware, my office would not be able to
we'll not be able to what?
review these submittals.
We could hash out the details.
You know.
We can hash them
have
out.
Some technical standards and I wouldn't be able to tell you if that submittal met our ordinance or not.
We can hash out the details and maybe even take some things out of it if we need to.
I just wanted to let you know, my office wouldn't be able to handle that. I think it would be just the additional workload alone, even if I was qualified.
And I'm open to, you know, prior to our next meeting, I'm open to looking at it with you and seeing if we can work some stuff out of it that makes it a little more tangible for you. But Mr. Spindler, is that agreeable?
It is. So the motion on the floor that has been seconded would be no charges for
No fee ordinance.
no fee ordinance. So we do not need to have a public hearing. We'll still treat this as the introduction of the ordinance. So we'll finalize it at the next meeting if that is still what the commissioners are inclined to do. So you'll need to act on the motion tonight that was made by President Fleetwood and seconded by Mr. Montgomery. But it will have to be finalized at the first meeting in November without a public hearing. November 2nd. Is that, we were asked about that earlier. We are meeting on election day. I know it's
Non-election.
Not
it's not
election
a
year.
state election.
No election this year anywhere. It's a non-election.
I'll finish the vote and
Not in
if
Indiana anyway.
all comments are finished. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 I'm
Any
going,
nays?
I'm going to say aye on this strictly because we have been working too long to get a stormwater ordinance. I think it's totally wrong not to have the fees, but I will support the stormwater ordinance. So my vote is aye.
There we go. I also want to bring up, we have,
Before you go anywhere else,
Bill,
we have a guy here from Duke Energy needs to. George brought in.
thank you for your patience. We should,
Jail project, and this is Cameron Woodard. And he's with Duke Energy. And we had a meeting on a phone meeting conference meeting last Friday with RQW, Garmon, Duke Energy, and I think they found out that this is really a program, so he's willing to come here tonight and kind of give you an overview of how the program was assessed and how the incentive program works. Then I got one other thing after that, if that's okay.
As George said, my name is Cameron Woodard. I'm what's called a business energy advisor for Duke Energy. So I actually have all of Southern Indiana that I work with. I actually found out about the program or the new jail that you're looking to build here through Andy Downey. He's one of our employees at Duke as well, and reached out to George about it. So we've got what's called a new construction design assist program that we work with a number of customers really all over the state that I wanted to get in front of George and really kind of explain to you the process and what we're able to do. So we're working with a number of different jails actually right now with the program. Vigo County is one of them. And what we do is we actually have a team that we work with that's going to be working with RQAW to really look at the design plans, look at the energy usage of the jail, kind of make some recommendations on where we could help if there's any energy efficiency updates to the jail that we might be able to help out with. But we also just are looking at what you're going to put in anyway. And really this program, it kind of a good, better, best. We run an energy model on the jail, really lets you know, like I said, what you're doing right now, what we might be able to do that will have savings over the long term, and what our incentives can help to cover. Right now, again, the county jail, we're able to incentivize the whole building with this program, all of your electric usage and everything that's going into it. The Vigo County Jail is between $55,000 and $60,000 on the incentive that the county would be getting back. We obviously have not looked into exactly all of what's going into the jail here, but we generally see a pretty good incentive for you. So wanted to let you know that that's what we're going to be doing, is working with RQAW and Garmong, coming up with a good energy plan, letting them see what that looks like. Obviously, we do have recommendations on where we could see more savings, where you could see more savings in the long run. There's no requirements to go forward with that. We just want to give you a really good idea of really what the energy is going to be in the building and what it could be if you decided to do anything else in there. Got payback period on there, the incentive. So there's a lot of really good quality information that we'll be getting to George and everybody that, obviously you guys could see as well. So just wanted to let you know that that's what we're going to be doing with this program. Obviously, I oversee Gibson County, Southern Indiana. So if there's any other projects that I can help out with, I'm happy to do so. We've got a lot of programs and incentives out there to help with building and facility upgrades. So
I mentioned about the YMCA.
yeah, we're actually working with the new YMCA coming in as well in the same program. So they're going to be taking advantage of that new construction design system as well.
Well, I'll let George tell you, but we have some really exciting construction projects going on in our county or soon to be going on in our county.
Well, like I asked him about the gym at Fort Branch.
Oh, good.
That finally, even that type of project, even though they're in a different,
yeah, we have a number of programs that we can help out with, and even we've got a couple of newer ones that we can work outside of Duke Energy on. Usually that program is going to be like a lighting upgrade, HVAC upgrade, optimization, things like that. So we've got a whole slew of projects or programs to really help you with energy costs and everything.
Now, with this program, just curiosity sake, let's put it this way, the consulting really doesn't cost the county anything,
No.
but the possible suggestions could be upgrading equipment and that will eventually pay off.
Exactly.
Like your cheaper lighting and
Yeah.
stuff like this.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
None of our programs, our energy efficiency programs that we have that would be called regulated are gonna cost you any extra money. So being a part of the new construction design system, no cost. There are, like you said, maybe some incremental costs that, let's say if you were doing all the lighting and we decided that, hey, if you put occupancy sensors on that lighting, this is how much more it would cost, but then in that, it would also break down, well, here's your payback and here's what our incentives will help cover as well as a part of that cost.
Right, well, it's like
Your incentives would go up.
right.
So your payback would overall might come down a little bit. Actually.
It's like, because I get the emails and stuff from
Yeah.
Duke, and it's like, okay, if you spend $2 more on this light bulb,
Yeah, you're gonna save.
you're going to save. And for this, we're going to give you one light bulb.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of what this
Right.
program does on a very large scale. So yeah, just wanted to obviously let you know what we're gonna be doing with the jail here and the YMCA as well. Yeah, that was a good point.
Well, just so you know too, we better be at some point having a probation office, big one going in.
Yeah, we can do that. And, absolutely happy to help out however I can. So, any questions at all from me?
Cameron, thanks for presenting tonight. And George, thank you for recruiting Cameron.
There's some emails flying around and, we'll make sure we got contact with him.
Mhm.
And I know RQAW was extremely interested because they had not they never heard of the program before.
Yeah, so we'll be working with them, I think, a lot more.
Yeah. They're building a fire station, I don't know where, but it's in Indiana, and it's a very large fire station, and
Yeah.
their guy said, hey, man, does this apply to them? And she said, yes. So they're gonna try to use it on several construction projects. And then again, I'll get with Bill Knapp and I'll give him a chair.
Oh, very good.
And
Very good.
maybe the gym down there can, do some, they're working with their architects and maybe they get some kind of incentive or whatever back too. And hopefully that company like C1 come back.
Yes, sir. So we could probably see in excess of $20,000, or maybe it's too early to tell.
I would say it's probably gonna be, so, I had forgotten, but we worked with Grunfeld School as well on this. And I think their incentive was about 35,000 for that addition that they did.
Nice.
Was around that area, so, for the size and everything, I wouldn't put that number. I don't think that's too far out of the ballpark. I think it could be probably somewhere around that, if not a little bit more.
What's the program called again, Cameron?
So the new construction design assistance.
New construction design assistance.
Yeah, but we also do, that program can actually help out with major renovations too. So it's not strictly new construction programming, but we can help with major renovations as well.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Saving money.
Thank you.
Saving
Yes, sir,
money,
George.
saving energy.
Yeah.
Thanks, Cameron.
The other thing is, just want to mention that we had a jail steering committee meeting prior to this meeting before. And one of the things that we were working on to keep this project moving forward on was that they take a vote approval of the design, basically the footprint. I'm sure it's going to change again, looking at it. But we were asking for approval of the design of the detention center footprint, which includes the sheriff's offices, 911, dispatch center, pending land acquisition, approval of the Princeton zoning board, and approval of the Princeton city council. So that's what I'm asking if you consider that decision. Or I'll try to answer the question.
I mean, it looks like a basic design to me, but in all honesty, George, I can't read this without a magnifying glass.
I agree. And I've got glasses on, I've been sitting there, but I've seen a bigger drawing of it.
Yeah.
And again, I'm sure that, especially like the sheriff's offices, there's still things that are going to be, changed in it, but the basic concept of is that's what we're looking for approval for.
How does this lay on the block?
Well, the way it's right now, that is on the north side of the
Okay.
current jail. And
Okay.
the driveway. So
Yeah.
the building
And the connection here then is community corrections?
should be north. It has nothing to do, the only thing that's going to happen with community corrections would be it'll be connected to the new facility.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant here on the drawing. This would be,
That's gonna be a savings for this plan too. I mean,
Well, and, one of the things that we looked at was the fact that in original drawings, they had, a kitchen in the new facility, laundry in the new facility, cold storage, dry storage, training room, which we all currently have already in the current workplace facility. So, try to save some money. The original design was actually the office department was the 2-story building, and we were taking and using and renovating the current kitchen and the things that we already have in work release, brought it down to a single level building, the office part of it. It took out about $2 million of the cost of what we're going to do to leave all that in there. And, we're trying to, there's a budget that the county council wants us to try to do as close as we can. I'm not going to say it's going to be perfect, but at least let's be in the ballpark that, they've said on apparently numerous occasions that they around 20 million plus or minus a little bit. So I think the council, one of their directives is to keep it in that region.
besides the community corrections building, any other part of the old jail and offices and that being retained?
My understanding is what would happen if and first was a lot.
Right, if, yes.
If all purpose, say all purpose come to wish, that, the new facility, when it's being constructed, the 89 building with the current jail, the 48 building, which is the current office building, they will function, work release will all function just like they are today into the future. Work release will continue to operate. And once all that gets built, prisoners are moved over, it's all functioning, then at some point, the old 48 jail and the old 89 jail will come down, that will become a parking lot. With the idea, one, for parking, but number two is, if for some reason, I don't think I'll ever see that, but if they would need a bigger facility or needed to add on, then they got the ground, they don't have to worry about purchasing. There's room there to add on as to maybe a second jail con that would be needed, but I don't think, I know I won't be around that happens. This is a long range plan.
Right, right. Well, also in this, because like I said, I can't read, words are too small.
Sorry.
Dispatch.
Yeah, there's a new 911 dispatch there, and we met with, actually had a meeting with Motorola. Tim was there, and Kristen Bell, and a couple of people at the RQW, a guy at RQW, electrician. And they looked at our equipment, and I say ours, sheriff's office.
Well, it's ours, it's Gibson County's.
Yeah. And age of the equipment and the lack of future service, that kind of sounds like a cell phone. They're not going to service this one anymore. With the current dispatch, so to be practical, it would be more practical to go ahead and buy new dispatch equipment. And not only that, to try to interrupt 911 service, try to interrupt dispatch of fire, police, that would be a really big nightmare.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
So again, like I'm saying, let's keep the current facility and everything operating just like it is, which includes dispatch. But the idea that when things are built and done, they basically walk half a block, they're in a new facility and they turn the switch and they're on and the whole thing gets turned off. And we don't lose any.
Hopefully the switch works. Yeah, yeah.
But that will keep continuity going, and people that live in county still 911 and the deputy out in the field, you call in, it's going to get answered, firing, whatever. Because they all respond out of central dispatch.
Right.
And give them a bigger room, I don't know.
Oh, I hope so. They deserve better than a closet.
They do.
Yeah, it's a pretty large closet, but not near as big. And it also looks to me that the drawings, it actually has 4 stations in it.
Oh, that's good.
And that was one of the things that the sheriff had suggested that he wanted to see. And the transmitter part of it probably won't change, but the equipment that actually makes the system work, that's what's going to have to come in.
Right.
And they're working on a proposal, and they're going to shoot that up to RQAW and Garland and let them know kind of what the ballpark, what that number's going to be. And hopefully in the near future, a meeting with Stanley, which is the ones that provides the jail. We're trying to get an idea of what can happen with it too, but that's not happened yet. We're going to say that be.
Right.
So that's kind of where we're headed. And like I say tonight, everything, of course, again, hinges on approval, pending land acquisition, and so on and so forth. But we do need to continue to move forward with this project. We'll get some deadlines coming. And we've got a federal court report that's due in just about 4 days. And we need to show that, yes, we're moving forward as board of commissioners. So that pretty much, I think, covers all of them.
Okay. Well, I'll entertain a motion to approve this with the understanding that it's contingent upon
Absolutely.
a few variables such as land acquisition
Zoning.
Zoning. and city council meeting. So still have some hurdles.
Yeah.
How do you feel, Tim? On this? I mean, you know, do you feel like what's here? Do you feel like that it does facilitate what we've talked about in the past and, as far as, the capacity, the offices, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
It's gotta be done.
Well, yeah, it's gotta be done. But, as far as functionality and that's, depending on you guys to let us know, but.
And I just didn't hate to interject, but it's a working diagram.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I totally understand that. I totally understand that. There's gonna be a lot of changes, no matter what.
Jumped out at me that we need to fine tune, but we still have to show progress.
Well, if we don't think we're gonna have to fine tune something or change it, we're crazy.
I'm not saying that someday if it doesn't work out.
Well, like you said, it depends on the ability to
Show must go on.
acquisition. Yeah.
We can get the outer shell going,
Right,
the inner side.
right. So, I mean, it looked a lot like, what we've talked about in the past and, without being able to read the TD words.
There is a break.
But, I was more concerned about, that the offices, I mean, I can tell on the jail just by looking at it, but your offices and dispatch like we talked about. And that, so. Yeah.
Can be moved around, and we want to make it convenient for obviously the sheriff's office needs to
Mhm.
function, working on it, so, well, same way. with
Okay.
dispatch.
I mean, I don't have a problem with approving this. We have a lot of ifs, ands, or buts out there,
Yeah.
but to move forward, I don't see a problem with it.
Neither.
Well, probably
So-
it's a motion.
Yeah,
I'll make that motion.
and, I'll second it based on, we know we have a lot of questions left.
We do.
A long way to go.
Yep.
Motion made in second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. 3-0. Thank you for all that, and also thank my fellow commissioners for some good questioning. There's a good line of questioning. I believe we're ready, unless someone tells me otherwise, here to move on to our new business and a proclamation for Bill McConnell. I just noticed, got a nice card up here for Bill, but Bill McConnell, most of you already know him, but we're honoring him as the oldest active county council member in Indiana, former mayor of Princeton, and just an all-around great civil servant. And I've been told that he correct me on this if I'm wrong, but he turns 100 here in
Yes.
November.
Yes.
November 1.
Oh, my goodness. That's amazing.
And he's
That's
the oldest
awesome.
living veteran too.
Oldest living veteran
Yeah, in Gibson
in
County.
Gibson County.
And believe it or not, he only made that by about a month or two.
That's right.
Yeah, God bless him.
It's hard to believe you're 100 years old and you're still not the oldest.
That's just amazing. And but he's definitely a class act and has provided so much service for this county. So we honor him this evening
Yep.
and have a proclamation for him. But I thought I'd read a few of these quotes in his card here. Just happy birthday, wishing you the best. So proud to have served with you. I mean, the list goes on and on. You're a great American, Bill. So, I mean, it's pretty honorable that this gentleman served our county and the taxpayers of Gibson County. So
And they're gonna have,
just amazing. What's this, Kenny?
that's
I'll
the
let
thing
you
they're gonna
announce
have
that.
for him at the Knights of Columbus, October 30th from 2 to 4 p.m.
The family is having an open
Yeah.
house type thing.
So public can attend?
Yes, yes,
Okay, okay.
yes.
You get that? Okay. All right, very good.
Okay, well, I have a proclamation here to read because it has some of his stuff on it. It says the Board of Gibson County Commissioners proclamation in honor of William Bill McConnell's 100th birthday. Whereas William Bill McConnell was born November 1, 1921, and a lifetime resident of Gibson County, Indiana. And whereas Bill McConnell started his career serving the country in the U.S. Navy during World War II from November 20th, which I thought was kind of funny, it was same month of his birth, 1942 through October 21st, 1945. And whereas Bill McConnell continued serving his community in the capacity of Princeton City Council from 1952 to 1955, mayor of the city of Princeton from 1960 to 1972, and Gibson County Council from 2001 to present day. Whereas Bill McConnell has lived during the most eventful century of this nation's history and has been a model and inspiration to his family and community. Now, therefore, by virtue of the authority vested in the Board of Gibson County Commissioners, we do hereby proclaim November 1st, 2021 as William Bill McConnell Day in the county of Gibson. On behalf of the citizens of Gibson County, we offer sincere congratulations and extend happy birthday wishes from the entire community, and it will be signed by the 3 commissioners. And you know, if you're willing to be 100 years old and still be serving, you know, because if you take in his whole career with just a few years missing, he has well over 60 years of public service under his belt. Because even when he wasn't in office, he was definitely doing things for either the city of Princeton or the other communities and Gibson County.
Yes.
Yep.
Go and sign it.
Please. And Kay will put the seal on the
Okay.
circle there, the gold circle, and we have a frame to put it in to present it to him.
Well written. So he celebrated a birthday, and then about a month later, World War II, well, Pearl Harbor was attacked about a month later.
Well, no, I actually celebrated his birthday, and 6 days later, Pearl Harbor was attacked.
December 7th.
Oh, December, so I was thinking November, yeah, December, yeah.
So like December 7th, 1941.
Yeah, I'll change history.
I like your thinking there.
Well, I mean, the war was definitely going on at the time.
He celebrates a birthday with his
There
family.
you go. Okay.
Just think about it. He celebrates a birthday with his family, and then about a month later, well, if he went into 41, that is, I don't know for sure, but
Well, he went in 42.
regardless, so he had a birthday shortly.
Well, he had his birthday November 1st of 42, and he went in and by the end of the month.
And I mean, there's a reason they call those folks the greatest generation, right? I mean, they've helped build this country and make it as great as it is.
You think of what the changes were that they went through in their lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
We think ours is bad enough because we barely went from having TV to having, TV all over the place now. I think about what Bob's dad went through. He went from a mule team to 4-wheel drive tractors.
Yeah. The big old Steiger out there.
Yep. And he buried it a couple times too.
All right, well, I enjoyed that. That was good. Bids received for demolition of property located at 314 North. Are we in need of discussing that, or should we, I'll turn it over to Mr. Spindler.
So we opened those bids today. We received, the low bid was actually a 2-way tie. So I'm asking that this be taken under advisement and acted upon at the next commissioners meeting. The council will also be taking action on this to appropriate the funds. They're aware of what's going on. I messaged Council Member Derek McGraw this evening to let him know the outcome of the bids. Ultimately, we're going to Matt and I are going to come to you with the recommendation to approve awarding a contract either to Parker Excavating or Kerry Wilhite Excavating, Inc. Those were the 2 low bids, and again, they were a tie. So we're going to figure out how we're going to break that tie. We really don't have any laws, rules, or regulations that govern how to handle a situation like this, but I've got a couple of things in mind that Matt and I have talked about, and we'll figure it out and come to you at the next meeting with a recommendation.
What was
Okay.
the amount?
$38,500.
That's cheap.
I thought it was a great bid.
Bid.
I couldn't believe that we had a tie. I don't think we've ever had a tie in any
I've
bid.
never seen it.
So
First time for everything, I guess.
we need to make a motion to.
You don't need to do
Okay,
anything.
we don't have to do anything. Okay.
All right.
We do have one additional thing, an FMLA all the paperwork is in and correct and in the employee's file.
Okay, so I don't lose
Get everything back that you need to sign. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. If
No,
nothing
no,
else.
no,
it. But,
Need to make a motion to,
approve.
Okay, I'll entertain.
I'll make a motion to approve.
And do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And is there anything else? Don't want to be hasty.
that is it. We've got it.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Yes, you have a second.
All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, public.